Children interacting. So
some changes did come about.
So we did get those changes to come about. We went through the border regions, and they were quite happy to hear that they could do that with the governor's permission. And then lastly, the most important thing for me, because I've been through the veteran situation, was they asked us for women that we thought that were wrongly in prison. And we got these women, at least 8, released from prison within that time before he left office. But he said that because we had stressed to him, we know many judges who have sentenced women to 10 to 20 years to life for killing their partner or their spouse, even though they had it on record that they had been battered for 10 or 20 years or whatever, and they snapped. So we said to the governor that have your staff to find these women that we had advocated for, the list of women that might be eligible to be released from prison under the Battered Women Syndrome law. And he said he agreed he would do that, have his staff to make sure that he didn't release any women that it hadn't been reported to either the law enforcement in their area, the hospitals, or the family even knew that they were being beaten for 5 or 10 years. As long as it was on a record somewhere, he would study their record and see which ones he could get released. And he had 8 released by the time he left office. Right. And of that I'm most proud.
Oh, great. I see the pamphlets and the cards lying around. Do you want to say something about those?
Okay. Well, around me I have the definition of champion, which we women took very importantly when we were out there in the streets. And it says champion. Let me read what it says first. Champion. Number 1, a valiant fighter. Number 2, a person who fights for another or for a cause. Defender, protector, supporter, no matter the outcome. Synonyms. There was a writer named Dan Jensen who had talked about the champion, and they called us women, you know, the champion women. And I like that saying, and I kept that, and it's all yellow now and everything, but it has helped me quite a bit, because at the time I was the coordinator for racial and ethnic diversity for Ohio Now, National Organization for Women, and we really needed back support. We call it support for our back. So we had a lot of people in newsprint and everywhere and TV supporting our back, because the outcome of all advocating for these causes is stress. And at the time I had a young family, so I had double stress. I was driving 60 miles at times when they called meetings at the State House, and the president of the Ohio Now would call me as the women of color representative for the state. And I had behind me at least 4,000 and some women in the state of Ohio that I had to report to also of what I did personally as a woman of color. And I would get calls telling me, Lelia, come to the State House tomorrow. They're going to vote on this bill or that bill, and they're supporting women in this situation or that situation, and we need you to come and advocate, be present, show your face. We can't have them vote for bills, and they might not vote for the bill if we don't show up and support it. And I would say, well, I need to get a babysitter, or my car won't run right. We'll pick you up. We'll pick you up on the highway. Be at the highway. At the time, the main highway going outside Mansfield, Ohio, was Route 71, straight to Columbus and straight to Cleveland. We were 69 miles down from Cleveland, so if anybody come from Cleveland would stop out there on the highway at this McDonald's restaurant and pick me up sometime. My children were quite interested because I had one driver who was our secretary for our state board group, and she would have decals on her car, and sometimes she would wear very explicit shirts because she was into the gay pride group. And my son asked me, Mom, why are you riding on the car that says a Dyke-mobile? And I'm going, you know, I'm getting a ride to the State House because she's in my group. And that's her group that she's advocating for.
Okay, now what group was this? Who would put
The
out
gay
the
pride.
call?
Ohio Now president. Whoever was that Ohio Now
president. Say that
president.
again, please.
Ohio Now president, National Organization for Women for Ohio. Whoever she happened to be at the time, they would just let us know to be there when our bills are being heard that we've been working real hard for and pushing for. And we had lawyers in our group who would file amicus briefs to make sure that it got where it's supposed to go, because you need to file these briefs legally. So if you wanted to go to Washington, D.C. and to Congress. So we sometimes have to be at Congress to advocate. So I did get plane tickets. I didn't have to pay for it, so I could be in Washington, D.C. at certain times to advocate for one of our bills, or whichever one Congress happened to be voting on at the time. We would march up Pennsylvania Avenue, sometimes past the White House, and I think I made about 4 trips from Ohio on buses and what have you to get to Washington, D.C. to advocate for.
And this is all while your children were young?
While the children was young, I had great babysitters that knew, they were proud of me being able to do this because they couldn't do it themselves. They didn't understand how to go about what I would tell them they could do. They had reasons why they couldn't get out there in the streets and march with signs. There are reasons why they couldn't even go to Columbus, which was 60 miles away, and talk to their representative or their senator. But they were proud of me, so they would help me. They would give me gas money and sometimes transportation if they had to, but they would always be someone to babysit. And how long you going to be gone? I said 2 days, weekend maybe, 3 days. Oh, okay, and they would be fine with it. So my baby girl got used to being put in the back seat of my car and taken to meetings in Cleveland, Toledo, all over Cincinnati, all over the state of Ohio. She'd just get in the back seat and go to sleep, and we'd get there and she'd say, "Which meeting is this, Mom?" She got to know some of the people, and she would tell, when she became around 13, she would tell me which group meeting she didn't want to go to because it wasn't very interesting. They didn't have any food that she liked. But it was quite a busy time in my life.
Are all those cards associated with something similar?
Yes, you know, some is since I've been in Georgia that I work with some of these groups called Sister Love that advocate for AIDS.
Just give us a brief description.
AIDS people in Georgia. The one group is the social justice group that I was representing for them in Atlanta at the Social Justice Conference in 2007. And their slogan was "Change the World." And I was the site coordinator at 2 different sites in Atlanta at the time for that conference. And some of the others are about my progress personally lately. The Empowerment for Peace organization is one that I have created to help deal with the people that like to advocate for peace, not just having to do with women of color. And my group is called Circle of Sisterhood Red.
All right, tell us about that one. Is that current?
The Circle of Sisterhood is red is a current group that I work with. And
where are they?
And we advocate for women of color who need some, are yet been oppressed and need some help, support for their backs. Mostly the battered women.
How do people find out about that?
They come to me and I'll send them brochures. I would tell them where to meet me so we can talk around the kitchen table, as we like to say, or we can...
So are you out there, how, they come to you, but how do they know about you?
I pass my cards out, I pass my flyers out, I go to conferences, and meets where I can meet different women with
Some
different
of the
organizations.
conferences here in Georgia.
Yeah, we network. We pass out our cards with each other and say, you come to my group and I'll come to your group, or let me give you some information for my group and you give me some information for your group, and that way we get word of mouth advertising and save us a lot of money. We don't have to go into print, anything like that, too much.
Okay, I'm interested in your group, and I'm trying to find out, when a woman comes to you, for what would they come to you for, and how would you
Circle
help
of
them?
Sisterhood Red has to do with the racial and ethnic diversity of people in the world. Women of color, again, that's one of my main interests. And the Circle of Sisterhood means we come together in a circle to discuss everything. They feel oppressed when they don't have child support.
Okay, now who is in the circle? I'm trying to get it.
Women that have been battered.
Okay.
Women who are hungry.
Okay, women.
Homeless.
So how do you find these? I know you're saying word of mouth.
Network.
But truly, I have not heard of the organization, so I'm just trying to get it where you can.
Well, I passed these cards out within the family, and one of my aunts used to ride around with it in her car, so everybody got in her car could see it. And that
what
helps.
would you
Here in
do?
Cartersville, though, I've gone to every organization I can think of to pass out brochures and cards and everything. And one of my main interests here in Cartersville is pulling the Hispanic women in, because they have some of their own support groups here, and I've tried to reach out to those support groups so I can talk to them, and now I'm glad to say a lot of them know me by sight, and I do not know them. They can walk up and start talking about their situation. And one of the groups I was active in Ohio, the Sister Cities organization, is an international group of cities that band together to be friends. It's creating international friendships. And I was in England, in the UK, United Kingdom, where we have a sister city that we hated with in what they call the East Midlands. It's up from London. And everybody knows the town, the county they're in, called Nottinghamshire. County Nottinghamshire was the home of the folk hero Robin Hood and the Maid Marian and the Jolly Men, his jolly band of men. And that's out where our sister city, Mansfield, England, is located. And they would invite me to teas or to social outings so I could meet these women, because they knew me not by sight, but because of my bio. When you're a delegate to an international group, is you send your bio first, a short version. And they knew that I was an advocate for women's rights. So in every group, every social situation, they even held private receptions for me, because I had visited them 3 times on different occasions. One was
When you say, who are the they?
Pardon?
Who are the they? You said they invited me. They did.
Oh, I'm sorry. British Sister City members invited me. The first time we were all strangers, and it was a group of 16 that left Mansfield, England, to go over and affiliate with this city called Mansfield, England. And we became quite good friends. And so they invited me back to talk to their school children, which was very unusual, because they don't always invite strangers. But we became friends enough that they felt comfortable inviting me back to talk to their school children about affirmative action and equality in the United States, especially equality for women. So when I would go to these receptions and things, some women already knew me from being in the community, because I was visited on 3 separate occasions. And on the first occasion, the member of parliament from that area, from Nottinghamshire, knew me well enough we were invited, the delegation was invited to the Houses of Parliament. We toured the House of Commons and the House of Lords, and we went to a play in England, in London, while we was there. And some of the shoppers in the group went to Harrods, the big department store. And I ended up going to a department store called Selfridges, which was just as big as Harrods almost, and it was really nice. Okay. But the member of parliament had me seated at his table in this private dining room that most people don't know about in the House of Commons. And when I came to the door with my group, I was this like second in line, I think, behind another black lady that came from Mansfield, Ohio, that came with her husband, who was the only black councilman we had in Mansfield, Ohio. And they called my name. And I stepped up, and she wouldn't step to the side because she thought they made a mistake. But they said, no, Miss Benham will sit with the member of parliament. And I was so proud. I felt like I couldn't catch my breath, but to be invited to sit with the member of parliament in a private dining room in the UK, in the Houses of Parliament, House of Commons, and with my mayor from Mansfield, Ohio, and his wife. And we were only four at this one table. So it was quite an occasion, but he knew me from
Did you have press release or pictures of that occasion?
There are pictures of us. They wouldn't let you take pictures in the Houses of Commons in Parliament, but we have pictures of us touring. I have an album from that time. I made sure I had an album of some of the people we met and some of the things we did, especially when I talked to the school students. And they were so proud of me that one teacher even left the room, and even in the United States, teachers do not leave rooms when they do their classrooms to a speaker. They usually have to know what the speaker is talking about, so they stay in the classroom. And while in the UK, the instructor of one class just walked right on out the door and said, I'll be back in a few minutes, you keep talking. And I was so anxious and upset that they did this that I think I talked a little fast, and the kids had to stop me because they didn't understand what I was saying, because they said United States, people from the United States, they'd like to call me, which I liked in the UK, and Americans, they say, you Americans talk too fast. And then they started talking to me and asking questions. I had to stop them to say, would you repeat that? Because their accent was some was very rough, because they had Indian children in the classroom with English accents, and a couple of African children in the classroom with English accents. And then some came from the other side of the UK called Wales or Leeds, where the girl was very thick. Mm-hmm. So, but I lost my voice while I was there also in the last class, because I talked to 7 schools in 5 days, and at each school I at least talked twice, had 2 or 3 classes to talk to. And the last class I talked to, I would open my mouth to say something, all would come out was a squeak. My voice was completely gone, and they gave me a minute, gave me something to drink like I'm going to do now, because I'm losing my voice again. But that was an enjoyable time.